Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of Cabinet of Curiosities on Our Own Devices. I'm Jean Messier, and I'm here in the archives room of the Royal Aviation Museum of Western Canada, having a look at yet another fascinating artifact from their collection. This is a Global Survival Kit C2, and this is a civilian version of a U.S. Air Force survival kit issued to air crews during the Korean and Vietnam Wars. This was produced by the Victor Tool Company of Reading, Pennsylvania, and was based around their most famous product, the Woodman's PAL. So this is the brainchild of one Frederick Ursum, who was a Swiss national who emigrated to the United States in the late 1930s. And while working at the Victor Tool Company, Ursum started developing a tool specifically for the U.S. Forestry Service. He had noticed that the Rangers were carrying all sorts of different tools for different tasks, hatchets and machetes and saws, and thought this was, a bit inefficient and cumbersome. So he tried to develop a tool that could carry out all these tasks together. And that's exactly what he came up with. So as you can see, this is built like a machete, but it's balanced like a hatchet and has a much thicker blade for chopping through thicker branches. For even thicker wood, you have a saw on the back here, and then finally you have a pruning hook integrated into the back. So the Woodman's PAL hit the market in 1941, and it wasn't long before the U.S. Armed Services started to take notice and started considering it for official adoption. And according to the Victor Company website, the torture test that they put these things through is rather interesting. They would tie it to a swinging aluminum beam, raise it up 3 feet, and drop it onto a solid oak 2x4. They would do this a grand total of 7,000 times, after which they would put a 5/16 wooden dowel underneath it, raise it up 3 feet again, and drop it, and the requirement was that it be able to cut through cleanly. And apparently it passed with flying colors because soon thereafter it was officially adopted by the U.S. Army Signal Corps as the LC-14B. During the Vietnam War era, it would be redesignated the Survival Tool Type 4. And in the early part of the Second World War, is mainly used in the Pacific Theater for hacking through jungles, but would later be issued in U.S. Army Air Force aircraft survival kits. It would continue to be issued in this capacity well after the war, and indeed by the time of the Korean War, almost 250,000, 250,000, had been acquired by the U.S. Armed Forces. And so far as been able to tell, these were issued all the way into Desert Storm in 1991. Though the Woodman's PAL is still around, you can still buy it on the civilian market. It is still the Victor Tool Company's most famous and most successful product. Yet despite the well-documented history of the Woodman's PAL, I actually haven't been able to find all that much specific information about the C2 survival kit. Even a lookup of the patent number printed on it turns up nothing. Yet I still thought it would be interesting to open this up and have a look inside because, as I said before, I really have a soft spot for kits, especially historic kits that have survived more or less intact. And I'm particularly fascinated by survival kits because it's interesting to see what different organizations, what different authorities think is absolutely necessary in a survival situation. And the global in the name Global Survival Kit here refers to not only the Global Survival Products division of the Victor Tool Company, but also the fact that this is meant to be used in all sorts of climates, from the Arctic to deserts to jungles or at sea. So without further ado, let's open this up and let's see what we can find. So this is contained in a light but strong fiberglass case with metal reinforcements. It's held closed by some straps. So we undo these. And we see that we have two main groupings of items, one in the cover and one in the main body. If we look inside the cover and undo these straps, we see we have our Woodman's PAL here. As you can see, this was intended for all climates on Earth, since the metal scabbard for the Woodman's PAL is marked as being usable as a snow shovel. Underneath, we have the pink cover for a mosquito net, which helps increase its visibility, since the mosquito net is green and would blend against the forest. We have a clear dry bag here for storing gear against the rain. We have an orange signal panel for signaling to rescuers. We have sheets of toilet paper, and finally some aluminum foil, which the guide that comes in the kit says is for cooking. Looking inside the main body, we have a little pamphlet listing the contents of the kit. We have a roll of wire for making snares. We have an internal divider here to which is attached a little signal mirror. Underneath, we have some tinted goggles, presumably for use against snow blindness in the Arctic. We have Page's personal soap paper. So these are sheets of paper impregnated with soap to use to clean yourself. Rather an efficient solution. You don't have to carry a big bulky bar of soap or the paper separately. We have the remains of a gauze tape box that's missing from the kit. We have a little RCAF pamphlet on land and sea emergencies. And this is dated 1952, which would probably date the rest of the kit, although the pamphlet could have been produced earlier and included in the kit at a later date. We have a set of signal flares here, 2 regular flares, and this interesting double-ended flare where one side is a flare for use at night, while the other is a smoke generator for use during the day. We have a pot handle. According to the internal guide, this is meant to be stored in the cover. We have a set of razor blades. This is a tube of Morton salt, and this is part of the larger rations package, which includes jelly bars, survival crackers, sugar cubes, and some instant coffee. Here we have a whetstone for sharpening the Woodsman Pal. It comes in a little pouch. Here we have a surprisingly limited first aid kit with some rolls of gauze, some band-aids, some analgesic tablets, and a bottle of oilosol, which is a mixture of essential oils used as an anti-irritant. Here we have 2 packages of waterproof matches, and another fire-starting implement that I haven't seen included in any other first aid kit, which is a burning lens. Here we have some water purification tablets, most likely based on iodine. We have a compass. We have a manual for the compass, which was made by the Silva company, and so their instructions are called the Silva system, as well as a rescue notice, which is a little piece of paper you would fill out and leave with your aircraft or your boat or whatever vehicle you're traveling in case you decide to leave the scene and rescuers come looking for you at the scene of the accident. We have a little portable stove here. This unfolds in order to form a pot stand, and inside are cubes of solid hexamine fuel. Here we have a pea whistle for signaling, and just like the one in the RAF survival vest that I covered a little while ago, this is made of plastics that in cold weather it doesn't stick to your lips like a metal whistle would. We have some general purpose twine here. We have a little plastic box containing some fishing lines, some hooks, some weights, and a little sewing kit with some safety pins. And finally, we have a rather pathetic looking candle. So another item that was supposed to be issued with these kits was 2 boxes of .22 long rifle ammunition. Even though these were never issued with any sort of survival rifle, you were apparently expected to provide that yourself. And that's missing from this particular kit, which sort of makes sense as it is ammunition. It was probably used up or discarded by whoever owned this kit before they donated it to the museum. Anyway, that's all I have for you today. A bit of a shorter one today, a bit short on the actual history of the kit itself, but like I said, I wasn't able to find much on it, but I still found it interesting enough to show you and see what the US Air Force in the 1950s thought was essential for its pilots to have in an emergency situation. Anyway, I'll see you next time on another episode of Cabinet of Curiosities, where we'll look at yet more fascinating artifacts and hopefully more kits like this one. Until then, I'm Jean Messier from Our Own Devices. Have a great day.